All right, you didn't start your practice to become a full-time billing detective, right? So what if you could let Athelis RCM take that off your plate? It's AI-powered revenue cycle management that actually gets you paid faster with fewer denials and way less stress. Athelis plugs into your EMR, no messy tech drama, and it starts working immediately. Denials managed, payments tracked, insights clear as day. You get a real-time dashboard that shows you where your money is, what's working, and where you can improve. If you're ready to stop chasing dollars and start collecting them, it's time to check out Athelis RCM. Go to athelis.com and book that demo. That's ATHELAS.com. Your future self will thank you.
Let's say stop you being vague with your notes. So we always say cut the fluff, but that doesn't mean being vague. You need to be specific. So we need to be incorporating the right things into your notes. So the skill that you use, the strategy that you use, what cues you're providing. You don't want to be vague in that, like, oh, just facilitated a balance activity. Why did you do that? And what did you bring to that treatment that a layperson could not have done?
And even just how they're progressing or what you have to modify so they can do that day. If they could do something the other day and today they can't, that's fine. People are going to go up and down. Sure. But how did they present? What did you do? And then how did the patient present? It's all much more important than those little steps.
They've been on the front lines of patient care, one with a gait belt, the other with a sensory swing, overworked, under-caffeinated, and buried in documentation that felt more like creative writing assignments than clinical notes. But instead of surrendering to the chaos of checkboxes and cookie-cutter care plans, they built something better for themselves and for the rest of us. Now they're turning clinical documentation from a dreaded task into an art form. They're making defensible notes actually make sense, empowering therapists to treat more creatively and document more confidently. Their mission: cut the fluff, keep the skill, and unleash the true power of purposeful treatment. From a shared frustration came a shared solution and a platform that's reshaping how therapists show their worth, one ninja move at a time. Meet the OT-PT power duo behind the Note Ninjas, Nicole Poppert and Stephanie Mayer, on this episode of PT Pintcast. We'll do the big fancy logo thing. And they're back. The Note Ninjas are here. I figured more masks, not enough weapons. Like, where are the no weapons? All right. Well, if you had, first question, if you had weapons as Note Ninjas, as healthcare providers, what would they be?
Oh man, I would say like a recording pen type of thing that I could just like talk and then it like goes to my computer and it's done.
I have that.
Well, I want that.
Like a goniometer? Like you could use, like a goniometer would be like what a Note Ninja might carry. You know what I mean? That's where I was.
Yeah. Threaten people with ranging their shoulder or something.
Yeah. All right. Introduce yourselves to the people who don't know who they are, who don't know who you are.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Stephanie.
We're the Note Ninjas, an OT and PT duo teaching other therapists treatment ideas and documentation.
That is not the first time you guys have done that. You guys are pros.
We've been practicing. Yeah.
All right. So let's go backwards before we go forwards, because we're talking about an event that you've put together. You want people to come. They should, because you solved the problem you wish was solved for you. You did that. Let's go back. What was your personal, each of you, your breaking point with documentation? Was there a specific, like, I'm going to pull my hair out, I can't do this anymore moment that led to the creation of you putting on the ninja, garb and becoming the Note Ninjas? What was it?
I used to always say I used to bring my computer home at night and I would just be sitting on my couch, and usually I go to bed early. I'd be up to I remember being up to 11:30 at night, and it's like, all right, we need to go to bed. Like, this needs to be over. And it was just so stressful, and I just dreaded, and I wanted to see almost less patients sometimes, to do like less paperwork at the end of the day. And I just really couldn't take it anymore. It was burning me out.
Yeah. And I would say, my very first evaluation, it took me 4 hours. And then I had very poor internet connection at home, and I brought all my notes home, and I would literally spend 6 hours doing documentation at night because I had no idea what I was doing because nobody taught me.
Yeah. It's like, well, your CI will teach you. And then figure it out. And meanwhile, the CI was taught by a CI. So it's a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. And then we wind up just doing what we think we should be doing, but not what we should be doing, right? We're told all the time. I remember I was told in PT school anyway, which was document every single thing this way, you're safe. And I'm like, am I though? Like, am I really safe just because I did a lot? So you two teach therapists how to document more defensively and creatively. What does that actually look like in practice? Walk us through a common example of how a boring note becomes more of a badass note.
So we just like to say that you don't have to write a lot. You just have to write exactly what you did. We just have to focus on the skill of the clinician, not necessarily the steps of any activity. So that's what we focus a lot in our trainings, showing an activity and then exactly how to document and living out the stuff that's really not important. It might be important why the patient was doing it to reach a goal, but not necessarily like the steps of all the activities that you're doing.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah. And to incorporate like the skilled phrases, I think is like the big thing. So, we keep a list of skilled phrases like facilitated, engaged instead of tolerated, and like things like that. That like
can we retire tolerated?
It's about time.
Have you ever imagine someone was like, oh, I went to have drinks with my friend Jimmy. Oh yeah, what's he like? Well, I tolerated it well. Does that sound positive at all?
So good. Yeah. Yeah. No, it sounds awful. You should not be reimbursed for that.
Yeah. So you've mentioned cutting the fluff. What are the top 2 or 3 things besides tolerated that therapists should stop doing in their notes outside of what you just mentioned, which is like writing down just a list of steps?
Good question. Let's say stop being vague with your notes. So we always say cut the fluff, but that doesn't mean being vague. You need to be specific. So we need to be incorporating the right things into your notes. So the skill that you use, the strategy that you use, what cues you're providing. You don't want to be vague in that, like, oh, just facilitated a balance activity. Why did you do that? And what did you bring to that treatment that a layperson could not have done?
And even just how they're progressing or what you have to modify so they can do that day. If they could do something the other day and today they can't, that's fine. People are going to go up and down. Sure. But how did they present? What did you do? And then, how did the patient present? It's all much more important than those little steps.
All right. So typically things like compliance and defensibility and documentation and creativity are like 2 ends of the spectrum, right? We're taught in school, PT school, OT school, SLP school. The creativity is not on the syllabus, right? Mm-hmm. But we work with humans, so we want to be creative. So how do you guys teach people to balance creative, patient-specific treatment planning with the need for those things that have to be there, like compliance and defensibility and documentation?
Well, I think it's just like important that like a lot of people think that we need, like especially with social media, you see all these crazy equipment that you use. Yeah. And like, it's so like, oh, wow, I want that, But when it comes down to it, like, you have to like think about you and your patients. Like, what do you have the means to, you have to work within your means of the equipment. So we like to bring like these simple, basic treatments and then just kind of elevate them. And that's going to show progress. It's going to challenge them. Plus it's going to be more fun. And then we want to keep it patient centered for the patient. So instead of, just doing a ball toss, maybe you're doing a ball toss with a cognitive task and having them, name some categories or walk and do the ball toss. Like, it's just like that little thing that sets us apart because we're giving like that little creativity aspect with that simple activity that anyone can use in any setting.
Plus, a lot of our job too is to get them to want to come back. A lot of times, people stop coming to therapy and the buy-in and engagement. So a lot of times they don't want to just do like 2 sets of 15 like leg raises, But if you add in some kind of activity that they enjoy, like I was even thinking that this morning. I was at the gym and I go to a lady that's very creative. And I'm like, I know I don't need this, but this keeps me coming back. And this is what keeps our patients coming back too. Maybe they are. Patient might like that, but a lot of them like to, change it up a little bit and have a little bit of fun while still getting all the benefits. So
yeah. This just in, no one wants to do 2 sets of 15 leg raises. We could retire that along with tolerated.
Yeah.
But I feel like you guys, from the first time I, sort of came across your content, was you weren't doing anything necessarily revolutionary. And it's not a knock, it's a compliment. What you were doing was showing people like, hey, what if we twist this? What if we made this a little bit harder? So I think people could copy exactly what you're doing, but really it felt like you guys were putting things out there to just spark whoever the viewer or the watcher was, take this and run with it. Like, we are not the end all be all. We are the catalyst to let you know you are allowed to be creative. In fact, you're supposed to be creative here.
Exactly. Yeah. We kind of like to set the foundation and then, and we get a lot of people that ask like, oh, I have a lower level patient. Like, how can I use this? I'm like, you just have to use your clinical reasoning skills and you need to use your own personal judgment and trust yourself as a clinician and to modify the activity. We're showing this activity that's balanced. Just sit down or have some support add a gate bell and support them. So it's really, yeah, like you said, it's not revolutionary. It's just, you have to kind of, use your own creativity.
You ever use a system that just gets you? Like where everything actually makes sense and works like it's supposed to? That's the vibe with Empower EMR from MW Therapy. It's built specifically for physical therapists, so you're not stuck Frankensteining a bunch of software that was designed for other industries together. Empower is your one-stop shop from scheduling and billing to reporting and even built-in marketing. The real magic? The automation. This thing works with you, filling your schedule, reminding patients, and keeping everything moving behind the scenes. Clinics are raving about how fast the switch was and how much time they're saving. If you're tired of fighting your EMR and ready to work with a system that lifts you up instead of dragging you down, head to mwtherapy.com and schedule a demo. Empower, the upgrade you didn't know you needed. It's the basics done repetitively, right? Isn't that what we're taught? Like, understand the basics. Sometimes people are on islands, right? You have solopreneurs who are out there sort of on their own. And next thing you know, I've been there. You're repeating the same thing because you're like, man, I'm not looking at anybody else in clinic. I'm not talking to people enough because I'm busy. I feel like how we consume content on devices, let's use that device for good, which is expose people to things and ideas that they might not have been exposed to in a different way. And then they can bring that with them. Everything feels like yes and, like the rules of improv.
Yes. Yeah, no, totally.
I mean, I was even getting burnt out because I was getting bored too. I stole exercises from Nicole. Probably like one way it started. She was always the creative one, and I was always like, she doesn't have this patient with me. I'm totally taking that activity.
Yeah.
It made it more fun for me too, and for our patients.
Yeah, and she put her PT spin on it.
I guess I didn't really think about it in the beginning either, especially being a PT. I didn't think about the creativity as much, but it definitely did help with me and with my patients when I started.
Yeah. Now you did mention, people seeing devices and saying, I want that. And sometimes, a lot of times we wind up buying something, myself included, off of Amazon, and then I get it, and 3 months later, I'm not using it. Is there something that you guys would recommend that doesn't have to be expensive, but that actually was helpful? A lot of times it's usually cheap, simple things that cover the basic. Anything that comes to mind?
Oh yeah. I would say there's three things that come to mind. One is some type of resistance band. You can use it as a visual cue. I know a lot of people hate on resistance bands for strengthening, but once again, it's as long as you're facilitating it the right way. We can get into that another time, but yeah, they're great to use. We love them for visual cues, for just props, and then a deck of playing cards. Simple as that. There's tons of activities you could do, and then a simple handheld ball that you could work. You could do grip strength, you can do balance, working on ankle stability. There's tons of ideas.
Yeah, it's being creative. I was at a conference just last week, and this is not a paid ad. I'm not trying to slide in an ad, but I wound up playing with it during the conference because their booth was next to ours. Have you guys toyed around with Blaze Pods at all? That feels like a deck of cards, sort of a visual light sensor one. You guys, you're both nodding on a podcast, so I'm going to say that you at least
want to. Cool. Yeah, we always say we want to work with them because they're so cool. So
yeah, but that's the cool part. Once you see videos like yours, content like yours, the idea was there. Those are the aha moments. When it was like, well, yeah, of course, it's so simple. It's like, well, why didn't you think of it? It's because sometimes being creative is hard. That's why it's a whole. You can learn how to be creative. It's hard, but it's valuable. The juice is worth a squeeze on creativity.
Yeah. And I think the treatment was just the one side of it. And because we wanted to we started with the documentation idea, but we're teaching documentation is so boring. So boring. So why don't we tie the documentation with the treatment? Because what's treatment without documentation? What's documentation without treatment? We had to put that together. And I don't know anyone who did that prior to us. I think there's some people that do it now. But I would say that we were probably one of the first groups of people that really apply the documentation to the treatment idea. And it's so easy to do that, but that's what people struggle with.
I'm going to push back. It wasn't easy. It was simple, right? It was clear. It was linear, but it wasn't easy because if it was, somebody else would have done it. But of course now, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. People are on the bandwagon. I'm sure you're probably flattered and also great. There's a lot of people that need help, more graduating every single year that are going to need this. So you're not going to run out of people that can value this information.
Yeah, totally.
It just means that people need it. So the more people that can get it out there, why not?
All right. So you've got the Note Ninjas Summit coming up. What's this look like? What do attendees expect to walk away with? Why should a busy clinician make time for this? In person, virtual? Like, this is your chance to have at it and tee off.
Okay. All right. Well, it's definitely turning out way better than we even imagined it could be.
Good.
So I learned about summits last year. I came back to Nicole and said, we absolutely have to do this because we have our treatments. We work with the older adult, but there's definitely other therapists too that are more specialized in different areas. We get asked all the time for neuro or for this or whatever it is. And we're not specialized in that. So we thought there was a way to bring all those people together. But we also told them they have to tie in our documentation. So we said they have to come up with a presentation for PTs and OTs, really leaving out the fluff, giving them activity ideas and ways to document it, not why they have to, all that stuff, like just straight down to the facts what the therapist can use the next day. And we tried to find a good variety of people so we could cover a lot of different topics for the older adult this one is for.
Yeah, we have an insane lineup. We were really nervous, like reaching out to people, but we've built like this network. I would say the past year, we've been doing this for 6 years, but we really came out of our shells like the past 2 years. So we really been like building this network and relationships with other people that are online. So we have an awesome lineup of 20 plus PTs and OTs. We have neuro, home health. I can't even think of all the names. Hand therapy, acute, stroke, cardiopulm. It's insane.
A good variety. Yeah, and we decided to also, we kind of been avoiding like the CU things because whoever does CUs knows it's not easy to get them and they like torture you. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be our first real like event that we're pre-approved for PT and OT. We got approved for AOTA and I went through the torture of getting it for most states for PT. It was torture. But so we have 20 CUs or
contact
hours for OT and so this time we really went all in with it. So they also got it.
And by the way, it's called Innovative Treatments, Effortless Documentation for PTs and OTs working with older adults.
Make sure that sounds like someone who's an expert in documenting something who would rename that way.
I would say.
All right. Advice. If you had one sticky notes worth of advice, because that's how we used to keep track of things before apps, one sticky notes worth of advice to slap on every therapist's laptop or clipboard, whatever they're carrying around, what would it say about documentation or treatment planning? What's sort of the one thing you'd want to hit people with?
Mine would say like, what did you do? So like, as you're the OT or PT reading that, like, what would you do? Don't worry about, of course, patient presentation is important, but you don't have to list all the steps of the activity. Just focus on the strategies, and that's your skill right there. That's what's going to be reimbursed because that's what insurance cares about is what you did with the patient and why your brain was used.
And then that's a good one. And then the next one would be, is everything focusing on one of the patient's goals? Because I think another thing we do too is what's within normal limits. What do we think it should be? Adults do this. Like, does the patient need this? Is all the activities you're doing, no matter how creative or how boring, whatever it is, are they all related to the goals that the patient wants to get back to? And does it show it in your note?
All right. You ready to play a quick game?
Oh, sure. I guess.
We're going to call it, because you guys are famous for wanting to cut out the fluff, right? We're going to call it Fluff or Fire.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a statement, and then you two have to each shout it out. You can't team up. You have to do it individually. Is it fluff, like cut it, or fire, you keep it? Are you ready?
Okay.
Here's the phrase. Skilled services provided to address patient deficits.
Fluff. Wait, was it fluff?
Fluffy to me. Patient participated in obstacle course for dynamic balance retraining.
Fire.
Patient tolerated treatment well.
Oh, fluff.
There's that word. Listen,
it's in there.
Terrible.
Just bad.
Used bubbles to encourage midline crossing.
Fire.
Fire. Warm. All right, good. And how about continue plan of care as established?
Fluff.
All right, perfect. So when we put it out there in that way, it's funny and we're being goofy with a game like this, but you start to see those things that were repeated and copy pasted all the time, maybe when you were students or maybe when you were out in practice for a while, you can cut that fluff. Where should someone go to find out more about getting together and learning with the event you put together?
So you can go to www.thenoteninjas.com. We will be having a pop-up for our summit and then make sure you get on our email list. That's the most important thing because that's when you'll get all the announcements about the summit. And of course, our Instagram at the Note Ninjas. We will be promoting our summit all month long. It is OT month. So we make sure that you follow us.
And what can people get outside of information about the summit from your email list? You guys are constantly putting out good information. Like, just give us the high level. What can people expect in their inbox?
We always like to we usually send 2 emails a week. One is always like a treatment idea or documentation. It's very simple, to the point. And then we always like to give a wrap up of our blogs and YouTube. So we put out a lot of information and all of that every week.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thanks again for doing what you do. It's needed. If it wasn't, people wouldn't be following along. That's just how this works. We're in an attention economy. And the fact that there are enough people clamoring and asking for it is saying it's needed. So you've met that intersection of, fluff and fire.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, ladies, as always, thanks so much. We appreciate your time.
All right, thank you.
Let's be real. You didn't become a therapist to be average. You've got something in you that wants more mastery, more impact, more confidence in the clinic. That's exactly what Brooks Institute of Higher Learning delivers. Their residency and fellowship programs aren't just resume builders, they're transformation zones. You get one-on-one mentoring, deep dive classwork, labs, and real-time experience inside one of the most advanced rehab systems in the country. And the best part? You're not grinding this out on the side. You get a full salary and benefits while you train with the best. Whether it's ortho, neuro, peds, geriatrics, women's health, Brooks IHL helps you become the expert you know you're meant to be. Check out brooksihl.org to learn more and take that next step.